Everyone thinks Korean skincare is a 2015 invention. 10-step routines, glass skin, some genius marketing out of Seoul. It's not. The routine is older than the country's last dynasty, and the receipts are sitting in a 400-year-old medical book. It was never written for the public. It wasn't a beauty book, and it definitely wasn't meant to create a global skincare industry. But in a strange way, it helped create K beauty. The book is called The Donguibogam, and its story starts with a doctor named Heo Jun. In the late 1500s, Korea's king gave Heo Jun a difficult job. At the time, much of Korea's medical knowledge was based on Chinese texts. The king wanted something different, a medical system that recorded Korean knowledge in Korean terms, using the plants, treatments, and practices people actually knew. So Hajun got to work, and he stayed at it for 14 years. In 1613, he finally finished. The result was the Donguibogam, one of the most important medical texts in Korean history. It covered everything: fever, digestion, childbirth, disease, the human body, and then, almost casually, tucked inside all of it, the skin. Because back then, skincare wasn't really treated as a separate thing. Healthy skin was simply part of being healthy. And the idea of beautiful skin goes back even farther. During Korea's Goryeo dynasty, nearly 1,000 years ago, clear skin already meant something. It wasn't just about looking attractive, it could signal health, cleanliness, even social status. But the real connection to modern K beauty becomes much clearer during the Joseon dynasty. That's when skincare practices became more sophisticated, and much of that knowledge stayed behind palace walls. It wasn't mass market beauty advice, it was passed through families, households, physicians, and women's traditions. And what they were trying to achieve is probably the most interesting part, because they weren't trying to look heavily made up. They wanted skin that looked like skin: smooth, even, healthy, radiant, almost untouched. Sound familiar? Today, we call that glass skin. The phrase is new, the obsession with naturally perfect looking skin isn't. So, what were they actually using? Water left over from washing rice was sometimes used on the face. Think of it as an early version of a toner. Rice powder was also used to cleanse and exfoliate. Then there was honey, used as a mask and valued for its soothing and moisturizing qualities. They obviously didn't know about antibacterial compounds and moisture retention. They just knew that it worked. Then came ginseng. For generations, it associated with maintaining youthful, healthy looking skin. Today, researchers have studied compounds in ginseng called saponins, including their potential effects on hydration and pigmentation. The people using ginseng centuries ago didn't know any of that. They didn't even have clinical trials. They had something much simpler: generations of experience. And then in 1809, another important book appeared. A scholar named Ebing Hogak wrote the Gyuhap Chongseo, often translated as Encyclopedia for Women. This one is especially interesting because it wasn't a royal medical text. It was written for ordinary households. And inside it was something that sounds almost like a modern skincare ingredient list: rice, ginseng, mugwort, green plum, red bean, and Centella asiatica. Today, we probably know it as cica, a staple in modern Korean skincare. Think about it: a recipe book from 1809 and a skincare shelf in Seoul today, using many of the same ingredients. Even bathing had a different meaning. It wasn't simply about getting clean. People added things like dried cloves to the water for fragrance, and because they were believed to help calm the body. There wasn't a strict boundary between beauty, hygiene, medicine, and wellness. They were all connected. You cared for the body, and the skin came with it. Now, there's a catch. We should not romanticize all of this. Not every traditional remedy has been proven by modern science. Some ingredients, like ginseng, have substantial research behind them. Others are better understood as traditional practices that survived because people believe they worked. That distinction matters because the interesting part of the story isn't that people in the past secretly knew modern dermatology. They didn't. It's that some of their basic ideas turned out to be surprisingly durable. Then history almost wiped them out. The Joseon dynasty ended, colonial rule followed, then war, then came modern Western cosmetics. Korea could easily have abandoned many of these old practices, but something survived. Not necessarily every recipe, not every old claim, but the philosophy. Take care of your skin before there is a problem. Do a little every day. Don't wait until something goes wrong. Don't attack the skin. Work with it. Skincare as a routine, not a rescue mission. And that philosophy eventually became global. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Korean beauty brands were beginning to reach international markets. And suddenly, the world discovered Korean skincare. Layering, gentle cleansing, hydration, fermentation, rice, ginseng, mugwort, centella, it looked futuristic. But a lot of it wasn't entirely new. Some of the ingredients, they had been there for centuries. So the next time you see a Korean skincare product with ginseng, rice, mugwort, or centella on the label, remember this. You are not necessarily looking at some brand new beauty trend. You may be looking at the latest version of an idea that has been passed down for hundreds of years. From royal physicians to household recipes to modern laboratories to your bathroom shelf. And perhaps the most fascinating question isn't what survived, it's this: what did they know that we haven't rediscovered yet?